According to the Talmud in Seder Nashim or family law in YHWH 65a6, if he, the husband, said that the cause for their failure to have children is from her, the wife, i.e., it is she, the wife, who is infertile, and she, the wife, said, it is from him, the husband. Rabbi Ami said, with regards to such matters between him, the husband, and her, the wife, she is believed. The Gemara inquires, what is the reason for this ruling? She, the wife, is certain whether his semen shoots like an arrow, whereas he, the husband, is not certain whether his semen shoots like an arrow. Now, is this kind of ruling consistent with the law of God or Torah that was given to Moses at Mount Sinai? According to Devarim or Deuteronomy 19:15, one witness shall not rise against a man for every perversity and every offense in every crime which one have committed. Upon the mouth of 2 witnesses, or upon the mouth of 3 witnesses, shall the answer arise. In other words, this kind of ruling is not consistent with the law of God or Torah that was given to Moses at Mount Sinai. Just like in any dispute, one witness is not enough to make a judgment. Some might ask, but how are we supposed to know if the husband's semen shoots like an arrow, if the wife is the only one who can tell us that? Exactly, because we do not need to know who is infertile. What we need to know is how can one become fertile. Because if this ruling would be applied to Abraham and Sarah, what would have happened to them? According to the Talmud, in Seder Nashim, or family law, in YHWH 65a7, if he, the husband, says, I will go and marry a different woman and examine myself to see if I am indeed the cause, Rabbi Ami said, even in this case, he must divorce his first wife and give her the payment for a marriage contract. As I say that whoever marries a woman in addition to his first wife must divorce his first wife and give her the payment for a marriage contract. Conversely, Rava said that a man may marry several women in addition to his first wife, and there is nothing wrong with this practice as long as he has enough to support them all. In other words, Abraham would have to divorce Sarah and find a different wife or get a second wife, which means Yitzchak or Isaac would not be born, which also means Yisrael or Israel would not be born. Even Moshe or Moses, who came from one of the 12 tribes of Yisrael or Israel, would not be born. Even David, who also came from one of the 12 tribes of Yisrael or Israel, would not be born. Even Rabbi Ami and Rava, who have discussed this ruling, would not be born. Why? Because this ruling lacks faith in God. Because despite knowing Sarah's infertility for so many years, Abraham did not divorce her, nor took another wife, exempting Hagar because she is a shifcha or handmaid. To put it simply, Abraham did not take matters into his own hands. Instead, he relied on God to make the impossible possible, which is having the 90-year-old Sarah fertile and give birth. Unlike Rabbi Ami and Rava, who had faith in themselves and obeyed the traditions of man, Mishnah, Gemara, and Talmud, Abraham had faith in God and obeyed the law of God or Torah. According to Bereshit or Genesis 26:5, for which Abraham obeyed my words, kept and preserved my commandments, mitzvah or mitzvot, my ordinances or chokhat, and my law or Torah. In other words, the traditions of man, Mishnah, Gemara, and Talmud, teaches man to rely on oneself, but the law of God or Torah teaches man to rely on God. Look at Moshe or Moses. He did not rely on himself to free the Israelites from Egypt. He relied on God, according to Shemot or Exodus chapters 3-14. Look at Gideon or Gideon. He did not rely on their numbers to defeat the Midianites. He relied on God, according to Shoftim or Judges chapters 6-7. And look at all the important people in the law of God or Torah, prophets or Nevi'im, and writings or Ketuvim. All of them did not rely on themselves. They rely on God to make the impossible possible. God did all the impossible things so that all would believe that He is the living God, because no man can do the impossible. Only God can do the impossible. In other words, God wants us to rely on Him, not on ourselves. And that is the reason why God keeps sending angels or messengers, judges, kings, and prophets to the nation of Israel or Israel, because you, the nation of Israel or Israel, keep relying on yourselves. And as you have already heard, God has sent His only begotten Son, to bring you the impossible. Some might say, God has a Son? That is impossible. Exactly. God has sent you the impossible to bring you the impossible, so that you may believe that He is the living God. And the message is still the same. Rely on God and obey the law of God or Torah, not on yourselves and the traditions of man, Mishnah, Gemara and Talmud. According to Yeshua, the Son of the living God, in Mark 7:8, for you put away the commandments of God or Torah just to keep the traditions of man, Mishnah, Gemara and Talmud, washing pots and cups, and many more such like this that you do. Some might say, wait, Yeshua is teaching the law of God or Torah, but according to some people, he was against the law of God or Torah. According to Yeshua, the Son of the living God, in John 5:46-47, for if you believe Moses, you will believe me, for he wrote about me. Moreover, if you believe not his book or Torah, how much more will you believe my words? Also, according to Yeshua, the Son of the living God, in Matthew 5:17-19, think not that I came to destroy the law or Torah, or the prophets or Nevi'im. I never came to destroy, but to fulfill or do. For surely I speak to you, even the sky and the world perish, one jot or one least of the law or Torah will never perish. Nothing will perish of the law or Torah, even all will be fulfilled or done. Who certainly breaks one of these least commandments, mitzvah or mitzvot, and teach man after this manner, will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does or fulfill and teach these will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. In other words, Yeshua was sent by God to reign over and govern you, the nation of Israel or Israel, back to God, so that you will once again rely only on God and obey only the law of God or Torah, not on yourselves and the traditions of man, Mishnah, Gemara and Talmud. Because just like how Pharaoh gave authority to Joseph or Joseph to reign over and govern Pharaoh's dominion, God gave authority to Yeshua, his son, to reign over and govern God's dominion. And just like Joseph or Joseph, Yeshua was also rejected by his brothers. And just like Joseph or Joseph, Yeshua will also return to reign over and govern his brothers. If you find this helpful, just simply like and subscribe to this channel. If you want to help back, just kindly donate at our Ko-fi or Patreon. Links are in the description. Thank you and God bless.